Welcome to Transform Now, the podcast brought to you by robotic process automation pioneer Blue Prism. Digital transformation has the potential to reshape the way companies service their customers, engage their employees, and manage their operations. Whether you're looking to develop strategies, tactics, and best practices to positively impact the future of work, or you're curious to learn how other companies have successfully navigated their digital transformation programs, then this podcast is for you. We're here to help you transform now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brad Hairston with Blue Prism. Welcome to the Transform Now podcast. Today, I'm happy to have two guests on the show from the company Cogent, which is a Blue Prism delivery partner based in Cape Town, South Africa. I'm joined by Pieter Grobbelaar, CEO of Cogent, and Waseer Haffajee, Chief Automation Officer of Cogent. I will be talking with Pieter and Waseer about the retail industry and one specific business process they have automated that is a significant pain point for most retailers. So Pieter, why don't you start us off with an introduction?
Thanks, Brad. Like you introduced me, founder and CEO of Cogent, really tracks back to a 27 years career in tech. Totally fell in love with it many years ago. Started my career in a legacy space. Some of the listeners or to this podcast might not even know what a 3270 green screen is. From a mainframe perspective, made most of what I did in my early days, like I said, of the mainframe space with a technology called ObjectStar. And then really as client server or PCs and the transition from mainframe into application server side sort of development just progressed into that. And so in a dialogue and excuse the term digital transformation, it's been used so broadly and so widely and abused to the nth degree. But I think throughout the 2017 year date of the prior century, really just got stuck into emerging technology. Founded Cogent basically in 2018. The business was founded centered around digital transformation, broad landscape. But really just try to zone into how do we make businesses perform optimal by the use of emerging technologies. And at the same time is how do we actually get that to our continent, which was quite a big challenge and still is, because sitting offshore from first world developed countries, we're always the last to adopt emerging technology. So really from my side, passionate about driving the adoption of those technologies and being a thought leader in the world of digital.
Waseer, tell us about yourself as well.
My name is Waseer Haffajee. I'm the Chief Automation Officer for Cogent. My background is in statistics. So I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt. So my background in terms of working career has always been in the transformation space. I've been working across the continent and the world for digital transformation. Myself and Pieter met based on the fact that we could not stand automation being used in a mediocre standard. We worked on it and we looked at how do we use this technology to solve complex problems. And that's where the partnership formed.
Very good. So Pieter, why don't you start by giving us a good overview of Cogent and explain how you're a different type of delivery partner for Blue Prism?
Sure, Brad. I think growing up in the world of tech for more than 27 years, as I said, it was a specific problem that I faced as an individual building businesses in tech. It was centered around the sort of equation of outcomes. How do we actually deliver outcomes to businesses as opposed to almost selling time? So really what makes us significantly different, I think, to any other partner out there is the fact that we very much focused around outcomes. So the problem, and even how do we solve that in an outcome basis, even in a shared risk model, so that's where the business are today. We didn't start there initially. We started as almost deemed to be a proper management consulting business based on our skills. We very quickly disrupted the market by thinking differently and how do we deliver, value to customers. And so Cogent, as it stands today, is a business that, like I said earlier, started broadly across the digital transformation landscape And what I mean by that is, at one stage we had a digital marketing agency within the business, all the way through to building DevOps capability with or infrastructure and operations for large enterprises.
Mhm.
And towards 2019, we started to pick a niche, which was hard for me as a business owner and a person that loves solving problems. I've got a problem saying no. So if somebody comes to me with a problem and it's even outside of the scope of what we do, I'd always go yes. So in 2019, we really started centering the business towards automation with RPA and Blue Prism at its core, exclusive to Blue Prism from a technology perspective.
Mhm.
If we have to touch on Blue Prism as well, at the same time, we're a reseller, delivery partner, but we're also a user and a client. I think on this continent, we're one of the biggest customers at the same time. And from making that decision within the business to center ourselves around automation and RPA, we just literally at a rapid pace progressed from RPA to intelligent automation. What I mean by that is starting to hook third-party technologies into our automations connected to Blue Prism to make smart automations. One case in point is passing two-factor authentication in processes where you would normally disconnect or switch off the governance around the execution of the process. And then tracking back to last year or 2020 August, actually moved beyond intelligent automation to hyper automation. And I think the hyper automation state, it's a buzzword in the market currently. Everybody's talking about it. I think the topic here around retail, which we'll touch on later, what we've done in the retail space is actually consequence awakening that when we look back at what we've created in the retail space, we actually realized that 18 months ago, we built, what I deem in the context of EMEA, possibly the world, the first hyper-automation platform or outcome, even before the term has really hit zone with a lot of businesses across the globe.
Pieter, before we dive into the use case that Cogent automated, perhaps you could provide your thoughts on the retail industry overall. Do you think retail is ripe for automation and ready to play catch up with other industries who are more mature in the automation space?
Absolutely, Brad. I think the only challenge with retail is if you've ever played in the retail space commercially, it's a tough commercial market, right? If you look at most retail and businesses across the globe, we're talking about margins of between 1.5% and 3%. So how do you actually build a business case or a use case or ROI benefit if you're operating profit? Well, not even profit, just gross profit is at 3%, which is really significantly different to when you're moving into the banking sector or any other financial services sector or industrial manufacturing sector. So margins are tight. So retailers traditionally think differently around the type of investments they make. And even when it comes to technology, I think the important part is if you change the narrative and now you actually drive the value by the adoption of emerging technologies, then retail gets activated. But absolutely, similar to the marketing industry, super ripe for automation, but at the same time, it's the application and how you actually drive value. Well, not only just shareholder value, let's put that aside, but just bottom line value back. And I think why retail will not think no, actually, after what we've done, why they are super ripe for automation is the fact that in retail businesses, the one thing that you need is people, and a lot of them to execute the business across retail, and giving hours back to vital functional areas within the business, not doing the stuff that they shouldn't be doing that can be replaced by technology is a big one. If I look at retail segment, you've got big back offices doing mundane stuff, going to the standard part of automation, but they should be focusing on customer, merchandising, stock rotation, replenishment, etc. So to answer your question there, absolutely, it's right. We were actually very, very fortunate to be part of the journey that we were to actually see those things materialize over the last 18 to 24 months.
So let's dive into the retail solution that Cogent built. Waseer, as you began working with a very large retail customer, how did the replenishment process emerge as a priority use case for automation? What makes this process so manually intensive and costly?
Good question. So retail stores, they have thousands of products available to the consumer. So we often walk into a store, but we don't realize the number of items that are available on the shelves of these stores. And it makes it very complex to manage a store. Most retail stores are behind the curve for the use of technology, which makes majority of these processes, if not all, manual. Okay. When you go to the convenience sector of retail, it's a 24-hour operation. So that means there's multiple shifts available and you constantly have to rotate staff. This makes staff very costly. Because it's a 24-hour operation, staff turnover is quite big. So people tend to get frustrated and then they leave the store. This also makes training from the retailer costly because you continuously have to train new people. And if you look at the retailer's world, they have to manage the store, they have to manage the staff, they have to create a customer-friendly environment, they have to ensure that stock is always available. So there's quite a number of variables that they have to look after. So we looked at the biggest pain point experienced by this retailer, and we found out that it was actually stock replenishment. So if you look at the amount of hours it took for stock replenishment, in our world, it was about 14 hours on average to do the stock replenishment. By Retialyx solving this problem, we inevitably assisted the retailer to solve the other issues, like create a customer-friendly environment, making sure that the stock is always available, ensuring that there is no frustration with the staff, and you can help them to look at other things to create efficiency within the store.
And you said 14 hours per day, I think,
Yeah.
and that's per store, right? So for a large retailer, that's a massive amount of very manual work going on each day around just replenishment.
And if you look at the convenience sector of retail, okay, that has increased its footprint at least by 50% over the last 2 years when the pandemic hit. And the reason for that is because people no longer moving towards the bigger shopping centers to buy their goods. If you look at the trends, people are making less trips to the store, but bigger basket purchases. So when it comes to convenience stores, because they're 24 hours and if they have all the stock available, people tend to go to those stores, purchase their items and go home. And that also makes it a little bit more difficult for these people, is because they have to always make sure that they have stock available for the customer.
Waseer, can you describe the full scope of the solution that Cogent automated? Walk us through it end to end and explain how it works.
So we've automated the stock replenishment process. That is from extraction of raw data to fulfillment of the order from the supplier. This process is made up of multiple components, which ranges from one, extraction of supplier portal information on lead times and current orders. So basically, what are the lead times of the supplier? What is your current order sitting with the supplier? Let us give you that view. Then it's extraction of the raw data from the retailer, which is generally, you could look at it as cashing up of the sales. So what is it that we've sold and what waste did we incur? All of those information. And then finally thirdly is then going into order calculation. So we've got a order calculation engine that we've created, which takes into consideration all the variables, which then creates the order that we're looking for. Then we have a component that is a notification of the orders to the customer whilst we send data to the front end. So this is just an alert that gives the customer feedback that says, okay, your orders is available. You can go onto your portal to check it. your reports are available. Please note that certain products are no longer available. So it's just the information to give the retailer comfort. Then we go into the fulfillment of the order. So we actually fulfill the order that has been generated. Okay. Then we give time to the retailer to look at the order. So we create an order, but we also have the ability to apply changes that the retailer might have. If you look at it this way, Retialyx takes data and creates insight, but the retailer is on the floor. So the retailer understands what the customer wants. And in most cases, there's often special orders. Brad is a regular at a certain store, and Brad goes into the store and says, Pieter, please give me 10 loaves worth of bread, and I'm going to come and pick this up every Monday. So in those cases, then the retailer is able to amend the order. We then take that amendment and fulfill it. Okay. And then finally, we do a reconciliation of the order. So we have to tie back everything to ensure that what you've given us and what we've created is actually on the supplier portal. And that ties up and ends the transaction. So those, in a nutshell, is the components that we've created in the stock replenishment system.
Excellent. Can you point out the role of the digital worker in the automated process that you described?
Yeah. So in the replenishment system, you would note that fulfillment of the order is the time consuming part. It's the part where most bigger suppliers, they're going via the portal or via a website. And I say, if you need an order, you don't phone us, you go onto the site, you place the order. So that's where the digital workers, that's the space that they play. They fulfill the orders, but they also execute certain other transactions, which makes it possible for us to validate an item, or it makes it possible for us to move items from one space to the other. But majority of its work sits in the fulfillment.
Brad, if I can just add there to Waseer, the power of using technology like Blue Prism and RPA, in actual fact, allowed us to build the MVP within 6 months. Okay? So just to draw context, however, digital workers are now zoned and homed in a specific couple of verticals throughout the solution from an execution perspective. When we built the MVP, digital workers did everything. So I always talk about finding a problem in a business. It's an hypothesis. Okay? So that's the hypothesis. How do we solve it? How do we get to an MVP? So when we started on this journey, digital workers did ERP data extractions, data migrations, ETL, calculations to the orders. So all the mathematical algorithms they applied all the way through to the actual placement of the orders through various channels. So portals is one channel, right? Not all suppliers have portals to place on. And most of the other suppliers rely on emailing the orders through. So digital workers generating orders by virtue of SKU, product, quantity, etc., with barcodes and sending it to the suppliers, for ordering. Then after delivering the MVP, going back down the pipeline in an hyper automation context is having to look, what can we replace with in database technologies? What can we do to add smart scripts attached to a bot, intelligence to actually, like I said earlier, I firmly believe that everything in business or in the world, everything has its function. So what can we apply function-wise to make the outcome of digital workers faster, quicker, etc.? So if we just track back to the MVP using bots or digital workers end-to-end in that first baseline solution, we trim the business operations time given back to the business from 14 hours to about 6.5 hours, right? Marrying other technologies connected to digital workers, making them smarter, reduce that to the point that we're now replenishing stock in less than an hour daily per retailer. So, just to give context that the acceleration of digital workers up to proving an hypothesis for a product or for an outcome, refactoring that once you've landed there, back downstream, actually continuously enhance the efficiency with the digital workers sitting at the core of the main functionality, like Waseer is saying, the things that you actually can't introduce any other technology to.
That's tremendous. Pieter, can you expand upon how your solution brings advanced capabilities into play, such as predictive ordering?
If you look at retail holistically, irrespective of the industry or the vertical, okay, so if you go to something like raw materials, that's a big gap, right? So I've got an end product, and let's just use this simplistically. Within my retail store, I've got a takeaway section, right? And I sell 100 cheeseburgers a day with French fries and, right? So to replenish that stock, that is actually like the super mother of overhead on staff, because they need to take sales, break it back to raw materials, because you can't tell your supplier, I've sold 100 burgers, I want stock replenished for that. You have to break that in terms of a recipe or a manufacturing component or whatever into the raw materials that you need for replenishment.
Right.
So a big advancement with our platform is it can actually take the sales of 100 hamburgers and chips with a combo with a Coke, and it can break it down to say, you sold 100 of these cheeseburgers. So you need to replenish so many buns, so many tomatoes, so many lettuce, grams wise, so many sauce, condiments, salt, pepper, a brown paper bag, a serviette, a plastic fork and knife, which is massive power in retail from a replenishing perspective. Because before that, it was thumb suck. Hey, we did so many sales. What, Mr. Supplier? Bring me 2 boxes of burgers, 20, 30 dozens of burger bread, and then you end up taking waste. So the power of the advanced component within the system is massive. It's huge. Yeah. My dad's in the tire business, right? So somebody comes in for balancing, but you do a balancing on a wheel, you need those grammed weights that you hit on. Doesn't matter what you do, there's always some underlying stock required to the outcome that you're actually doing within retail. You know, so if I've just done 10 cars for balancing, how many 10 gram, 5 gram, 1 gram weights have I used? And how many do I need to replenish? And based on my sales history, what does that look like? So it becomes a bit more complex than just replacing or replenishing SKUs, which is, yesterday I sold 10 loaves of bread, so maybe I need 10 or 14. If I have 5 more, I might sell them. And another thing is what happens in retail is that products come to what we call the expiry date. So then the staff now, with the hours we gave them back, they start rotating stock. So what's about to expire in 2 days? Let's put them in the front of the store. When it actually hits that critical date, let's discount it to get it moved so that we can get the new stock out, right? Now you need indicators, advanced data to tell you your last special whole bird of chicken has just gone on off the shelf. Please flag the back office to get the staff to replenish and get the new stock. So the advanced capabilities is, apart from just running autonomously, it's like a big game changer for retail as a whole.
Waseer, anything you have to add on the advanced capabilities of Retialyx?
Yeah, so our solution is an advanced hyper-automation product. Apart from the stock replenishment, the components that we have to facilitate the solution, so we have a task master, which monitors our user interface and database. It then issues tasks in order of priority to the digital workers throughout the day. So this keeps us on schedule. We have an advanced alert system, so that automatically issues warnings to either the team or the retailers, explaining the issue, and then basically telling us what is it that you want us to do. So an example would be data is not received to the retailer, so do a day end. or fulfillment is not working, go check the workers. Process is in a deadlock state. So that means customers is making too many changes and updating the database continuously. Then we have the predicted ordering, which uses the various factors to get an accurate forecast model. So we got the factors that include bar sales, peaks and valleys in the buying trends, day of week, day of month, time of month, dynamic cover, which adjusts automatically based on the waste that's booked into the system. So those are the components that we've built in, which are advanced capabilities that help us achieve the efficiency that we gain from Retialyx.
Waseer, could you talk about what benefits the retailer for whom you built this solution has realized to date?
Yeah, so obviously it's increasing in revenue. That's the number one metric that everyone wants. Increasing in revenue, waste stabilization. So stabilizing the waste and ensuring that you have line of sight of what items are being wasted and why is it wasted. Better customer service, because now we've given you time back. So you're on the floor, you have the time to engage with the customer. You can find out the likes and dislikes, solve customer queries, those type of things. You have time to target the empathy of the customer. Whereas before you couldn't, because you were always in a rush. Increase in staff productivity. So we see that the staff able to take on more work, but they're also able to do the work in a more professional manner. So the stress is gone, okay? Because stock replenishment is very, very time constrained. You can imagine 14 hours and then you still need to fulfill the orders. And in our case, some of these supplier portals, they close at a certain time. So you're always against the clock. And that's what makes it very difficult. Process standardization. So ensuring that when we find best practices and from certain stores, we are able to apply it to other retailers, which makes their life much easier. But that also gives them some type of confidence that we're not just fulfilling orders. So we're not just taking away manual work. We're giving you other insights and value back, which helps the overall business. Mistake proofing. So ensuring that when orders are placed, they are accurate. There's no mistakes in terms of the number of lugs that you order, as an example, because humans are prone to error. Faster stock replenishment. So ensuring that we abide by the lead times, making sure that the customer is aware of products that are available, what are the new products available, ensuring that you have enough stock so you don't short order. And then I think it's the final item would be line of sight into operations. This is to do with reporting and understanding what's going on in your business. What are the sales targets? What is your budget? Are you meeting the budget? Just general items, stock violations. So we have stock tags, but the stock that's sitting on the floor versus the stock in the system is different. We have violations in place to say that based on our calculations, we can automatically pick up when there's an inconsistency in stock. Please go have a look at these items. So it just points out and gives you focus into these elements, which the managers can resolve, and it makes it a better experience for everyone.
And Pieter, I understand that you built your automated replenishment solution, Retialyx, as a turnkey or RPA as a service solution. So I assume that this is something you could offer to retailers across the globe. True?
Absolutely. I mean, it started off in a convenience retail space, but if you really unpack the platform, it's applicable to any space where you are replenishing stock. And coming back to the earlier point, whether it's a mobile retail store or a fast-moving consumer goods like foods, it doesn't really matter. It needs data. If you feed data into it, there's some form of historical data, that's great. But we've even built a platform that if you are a new store owner of any retail chain, again, doesn't have to be food, convenience, any form of retail business, you can basically, to come back to the point, if somebody is handing you the keys to unlock the door to your new retail store, can from day one start adding value. And yes, once again, as a service, we built the Retialyx platform, and for lack of a better word to describe it, as a piece of middleware or middle layer that sits between ERP and channel. So we don't really care what the channel is, nor do we care what ERP system or point of sale system it is that you're using. It's a plugin in the middle that you feed data and it executes on any sort of front end channel or channel of replenishment of your choice.
It is worth pointing out, since a large portion of your solution is executed by digital workers who can work 24/7, there are no time zone challenges that companies may experience.
None whatsoever. I mean, this can be deployed in almost following the sun wherever this retail customer or chain exists. I must also just add that however the platform is fully autonomous, driven as a service cloud-based platform, it still ties back, and Waseer touched on it earlier, it's people, process, and technology. So tracking back to what I said earlier, some of the challenges that we faced is things like different cutoff times or delivery times. We'll have a retailer who has these for that area in a specific geography, their delivery is 12 o'clock at night. In a different geography, it's 10 o'clock at night. Okay, in the morning. So what happens if you look at the business process, just draw it back to the retailer that we're talking about in terms of their business process, they have what they call an end of day process. So they run that between 7, 8, 8:30 in the morning. So the dealer that receives his stock at 12 o'clock at night and does the end of day that morning, he's got new stock coming in. So his sales actually follows only from after his end of day on the new stock, right? The dealer that receives his stock at 10 o'clock still been selling stock and then did his end of day and then continue to do sales and then he receives stock, right? So within our platform, we've actually built modules to cater for that because you've got a lag in between doing your end of day and receiving stock. And you're actually making sales in that period. So how do you calibrate your AI within the platform to cater for that, to still make sure that what you're forecasting for the next day is the correct stock on hand and also forecasting what you should be ordering for the following day. But yeah, to answer your point, definitely fully portable and deployable across the globe, irrespective of time zones. Coming back to the point, as long as you feed the data, and even if there's no data as a new retailer opening new stores for the first time, it can add value.
Fantastic. Pieter and Waseer, you've built a remarkable solution for Retialyx that is delivering incredible value to your retail customer in Africa, but it's also highly relevant to other retailers around the globe. And I love the fact that you've built it as a service solution that can be offered to retailers anywhere, especially with all the supply chain drama that we're experiencing around the globe. Thanks for describing your solution today. Thanks for telling us about Cogent as well. And I wish you both well.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks for tuning in to Transform Now. For more insightful discussions on digital transformation and more, check out our podcast channel where you'll find all of our previous episodes. To make sure you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you like what you heard, please leave us a review. For more information about digital transformation and the future of work, check out blueprism.com to learn how Blue Prism's digital workforce is enabling enterprise transformation now.